Good morning. How y'all doing out there? Well, look, we have a powerful show as always. This is Real Talk. We want to thank Brother G and Brother Shahid for giving us the opportunity to come before you and AOC. This is Real Talk, and my guest to my right is going to be Miss Susanna Melville. Miss Susanna Melville, how you doing, Suzanne?
Fine, fine, thank you.
And to Suzanne Wright is going to be Miss Janice Green. So you know that it's customary in the African tradition that before we speak to the community, that we get permission from our elders. I'm going to go ahead and ask the elder, the oldest brother in the room, to please give us permission to talk.
You got my permission.
All right. Well, then let's just keep on. Let's just keep on rolling. Well, evidently, this is going to be another powerful show because we are highlighting, speaking about Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz. Black I am, Cajun and Creole I'm not, and it's just befitting. As one of our elders, we lost this great hero a couple of
Years ago.
we lost this great hero a couple of years, and today, uh, yesterday, in the future, we will always miss him. Brother Takuna, he wasn't an ordinary type of man. He was the man that stood the test of time. And when I say stood the test of times, he was intelligent, complete. He was a genius in his own right. He was a genius in his own right. And Suzanne, what is it that you learned from Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz? Because I have so many lessons that we're going to have to do several parts when it comes down to dealing with Brother Takuna.
Right. Well, thank you so much for having me. What I've learned from Brother Takuna is a lot. He and I talked very often, and most of the time we argued because, that's how he is, very argumentative. But he'd get his point across, and I'd get my point across, but most of the time he was trying to make sure that he got his point across. Really for what you might say, the black I am, Creole I am not, is a big part of what he was all about. He hated anything that was Cajun.
That's right.
We would talk about that a lot, and he'd say, well, we're not Cajuns. They brought Cajun, and they made Cajun, and they marketed Cajun, and then nothing about Creole.
That's
So
That's right.
we would do a lot of talking about that. Okay, so he was, like you say, meant for a lot of things, a lot of great things. When you think about it, it was great because a lot of people in the community just didn't understand him.
Correct.
And they really just didn't take the time to learn about him,
Yes.
to really think about what it is that he said. He said a lot.
Yes.
He spoke a lot,
Yes.
and then he backed it up.
That's right. That's right.
Everything
That's right.
he said, he backed it up.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. Sister Janice.
Well, first, I would like to do a brief introduction of Takuna.
Okay.
As we celebrate him today and honor and remember the life walk in service to community of a great community warrior and activist, Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz, who dedicated his life for the glory of God, Allah, and the liberation of God's people. Takuna described himself as a runaway slave who, by the grace of God, Allah, has declared his own freedom and was fighting for yours. He stood firm on the principles of Kujikajalia, which means self-determination, to define, name, and speak, and create the self and kind, rather than to be defined, named, and spoken for by others. The above quote best describes Brother Takuna's social, political, cultural, economic, and educational ideology. He was a no-nonsense grassroots speaker with analytical skills to dissect the harsh realities plaguing Black people in America. So that's just a brief discussion of who Takuna was and stuff. He did many things, but one thing he did that many can attest to, he spoke the truth at all times,
Yes.
and no one could call him a liar.
You say no one can call him
No
a
one
liar.
has ever called him a liar.
That's right. That's
Well, and
And
if
it's
they
true.
did,
It
you
would've-
know, it was far-fetched. I mean,
Yes,
it was for a short-lived time.
Yes.
You know, because he would definitely prove his point.
Yes.
Definitely.
He would prove them wrong.
Yes, yes, yes. And I had so many different stories that I remember. I remember I was addressing Iberia Parish School Board, dealing with them not acknowledging Dr. Martin Luther King Day as his day and wanting to acknowledge it as Great Americans Day. And I would write my articles and I would send it to the Daily Iberian, and they would not print my article. They would tell me, well, you know, you got to keep it to 200 words. You got to keep it to 150 words. When I went and I was telling Brother Takuna about it, he said, hey, give it to me. He print. And it was the first time that I actually had something in the newspaper. He print my entire article. I think I had about 350 words. And it was such a blessing because each time that they continuously try to tell you, well, no, not this, no, not that, Brother Takuna said, you got it, you got it, you got it.
Yeah. He wrote a lot of articles for my magazine, The Southern View.
Yes.
You know, I let him go ahead and write his articles, whatever he felt. You know, he wrote that.
Oh, yes.
You know, I wish I had time. You know, I could have pulled those articles
Right.
and share that with people.
Well, we're going to have time because, like,
We're going to do more shows.
we're going to have time, and that's a nice picture of Brother Takuna. I can't see who's all with him. Who's all with him?
Louis Ali
Brother Louis Ali
and Pastor Milton
and Archbishop
Milton
John Milton.
and myself.
Oh, and yourself, and Brother G. All right, yeah, that's a really good, nice picture too.
This one is Brother Umar
Brother
Johnson,
Umar Johnson,
Brother Tariq,
Brother Tyreek,
and Brother Louis Ali.
and Brother Louis Ali. And what was so good about it, Brother Takuna, he would not just stay in one area. I mean, Brother Ali called him. Brother Ali, he's going to
Brother
Baton
West.
Rouge. They
New
going.
Orleans.
To New Orleans, you
Mhm.
know,
West.
with Brother West. You're right.
Yes. And like I said, if you could hear in our voice how great we are for knowing this powerful genius, you could also hear the pain that we have for losing this powerful genius because this is what happened. And some of his writings, when you go back some 25, 30 years ago, it's significant today.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like he perceived what was going to happen. He knew.
He knew.
I say he was prophetic in his writings, so it's so true today. And mainly my purpose today is to just bring out some of the things that he really stood for. You know, like his book, he spoke on so many issues that's happening today in Lafayette that many people run from. You know, one of the main ones, as we all know, Cajun and nigger are synonymous words. They mean the same. So that was one of his big issues when he see people with UL shirts and Raging Cajun. You know, you might as well call yourself a Raging Cajun nigger, even as harsh as that may sound. That's who you are. And that's what you're accepting to, but you're running from truth and understanding to know better.
Yeah. Yes. And then not only that, but I was familiar with being called a little nigger back home, and my response was Cajun or coon ass. That's what our parents had told us when they call you little nigger. You respond back with your Cajun or coon ass, and that's why when they took and they popularized it, it just was heartening. And I think that came through, ULL or UL was called the Bulldogs, right?
Right. The USL Bulldogs.
The USL Bulldogs, and they decided that they wanted to become the Raging Cajun,
Yeah.
and they just signed it into law.
Right. I think really back then, because Takun and I would talk about that. You know, some of our black councilmen really just didn't understand what was going on at the time, so they approved that.
They approved.
They
it.
approved it. You know, it's not like, okay, they did it without our consent. Well, the politicians, they just thought that they're doing what's right for the community, but they really didn't reach out to the community. You know,
Yes.
so it passed.
It passed.
It passed, and then since then, we were the Raging Cajuns.
Right, because
know.
right,
That's a long time ago because I think when I was going, I mean, I still have my memorabilia with the Bulldogs,
okay.
but then with the Cajuns, I don't think I have any of that memorabilia at all, you know.
Yes, yes, Miss Janice.
Well, actually, what I would like to say is I think the book, Like I Am Cajun Creole, I'm not. To anyone who have bought the book just for
For them
just
to
for show and to say you bought it, but if you bought it and have not read it, I would implore you to read the book. And then that could be used as a platform, a blueprint for us to know what's really happening in Lafayette and to try to stand on a platform to address some issues to say if we're going to rise up to, as so many people say, you know, we want to rise up and focus and help the community. But how can you help a community when you're not aware of what's really happening in your community and addressing them from a grassroots issue? That's where the problem lies for me.
and that's a serious problem
Yes.
because Brother Takun Malani Al-Shabazz was right in the mud. You know, he was right on the ground floor. He would go to meetings. He would hold meetings, and no one would even offer him a red penny. He just took all of this into heart. Whereas, you know, I've got to be there. I got to show support. And then there were times when I was going through things in New Iberia, Labia, whatever. I would call Brother Takun and I would tell him these low down blank, 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 blank. And so he would let me finish talking. And then he would say, Sister, I understand where you're coming from and I feel you. However, I need you to clean it up. I said, what do you mean clean it up? You don't have to use vulgarity to get your point across.
Right.
You know, instead of calling them dust, there's some, I could use some spineless vertebrates. You know, they don't have any type of backbone. But he engulfed that in me, you know, and stuff like that. And until today, I'm a better person, a speaker. I'm just an all-around better person from having his internship and not realizing that this is what it was.
Yeah. And then, you know, some of the things that he did was the self-mastery class,
That's right.
you know. And then a lot of the youth attended the self-mastery. I didn't attend it all the time, but I attended some of the self-mastery class.
Yes.
And then I remember I'd have a question about something that he was talking about. And he said, just look it up. And I said, well, why do I have to look it up?
Yeah.
You're teaching it. He said, yeah, but I want you to look it up yourself and find the answer yourself. And I'm like, wow, what am I going here for? Well, it was just like he said, look it up for yourself. Don't rely on what other people have to say. You know, go here and then read it. So I would.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be in the spirit of Takuna and speak what I know is passionate to him. I want to take an excerpt from one of the, I think it was the last lecture he did, Sister Khadijah, at Imani Temple, titled The Making of a Nigga.
Okay.
And one of the excerpts he has was how we get tricked with words. And as long as I can remember, we have been fighting and protesting for freedom, justice, and equality. The nigger maker makes you think you're getting freedom because he knows how to play on words. The white man doesn't want you to have freedom, but he gives you a facility of what you interpret as freedom that he designs for you. He gives you liberties. He passes laws or encourages you to fight for liberties, not freedom. Freedom comes without the external control. So he would always say, white people are afraid of free-thinking people because free-thinking people don't need the external forces. They don't follow the dictates of anything external. They follow the truth. They speak the truth. When you're free, you scare white people, the real nigger maker. Brother Takuna was free mentally, physically, emotionally, and he truly had a heart that he followed the path that God ordered for him, and he took any and everything that came his way without any backing down. He was steadfast in everything that he did. So that's Takuna to me.
Yes, yes, yes. And as you can hear the sincerity, as you can see in through the screen, you know, we are talking right now. We on AOC, we on Facebook. Anything and everything that we say today, we could say it tomorrow, 10 years from the day. But because we are some of the best students of Brother Takuna Malana El-Shabazz, and one thing he always did say, the truth will always be the truth.
Eternal.
Yeah.
The truth is eternal.
Yeah. And then one thing I'd like to read that he wrote is The Planter. You know, so if you are to be accepted as a planter among your people, you must plant the seeds that will produce the needed harvest. If your people are hungry, you must plant the seed of the corn. If they are uneducated, you must plant the seed of knowledge. If they are culturally confused and economically misused, you must plant the seeds of culture, pride, and prosperity. If they are politically disenfranchised, you must plant the seeds of spiritual enrichment and direction. As the planter embedded with the knowledge of God, you must spare no efforts to alert your people to the nourishment that come from the eating of the harvest. If you fail in doing so, all who does not eat of the harvest will perish. And that's by Takuna Malana El-Shabazz, copyright 1988. So that will always be a living, breathing document that we can, you know, find endearing to us.
Yes. And it's poetic.
Yes.
It's coming from his intellect as well as his soul and his love that he had for his people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't know nobody that really love their people like say today. Like I love some of my people. You know, brother.
He loved all.
Yeah.
He loved all.
Because what he's seen.
Right.
What he's seen.
Right.
You know, he didn't just see, well, okay, well, yeah, they're not right. He's seen the heart part of them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he referred to everybody as my brother, my sister, my queen. You know, well, my queen to the ladies. I don't think he referred to the men as king, but, you know, he referred to everybody along the same planes.
That's right.
So,
And
I'm sorry.
yeah.
And speaking of Takuna, you know, it was easier for many to, like, oh, he's harsh, but that's just an old saying, the truth hurts or the truth sets you free. So many would just shy away from it, but you hear different stories. People say, oh, he was mean, he hated white people, he hated this. No, he loved all people. He hated the wickedness of people.
That's
the untruth of people. That's what he challenged. He never went physically, personally at no one.
That's right.
But the wickedness, he challenged a system. So it wasn't challenging you, Sister Khadijah, or anybody individual, but when he spoke, he was speaking to the system that he knew that will never be fair to us.
Yeah.
And
That's what he spoke to.
and that is powerful in its sense. And we could not do a tribute to, you could see the book Standing Still to Brother Takuna Malana El Shabbat without showing, we have a 3-minute clip.
Okay.
And we would like to show the 3-minute clip. And is that when we were in Baton Rouge?
In front of the statue.
Mouton statue.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That statue. All right, we ready.
Yet, we have a unique situation, a situation in which I've heard all the good words spoken by those who spoke earlier. They want to fight against racism. They want to resist the return of Jim Crow. They want to be fair. They want to teach the truth. They want to expound on history. All of these are good words and objectives that certainly could be followed and accepted by any intelligent person. However, here in Lafayette, we have a unique situation. And my concern with the removal of the statue, or the emphasis of removing the statue without broadening the base, if you want to remove white supremacy, we must also remove the whole concept of Raging Cajun and the concept of Acadiana here in this area, if you want to really address white supremacy. The whole idea of dealing with white supremacy simply means that you cannot ignore the living aspect, the living form of white supremacy, while you go and you attack a statue which is an innate object. If we remove the statue tomorrow, that statue will not make one bit of difference in the economic, political, and cultural exploitation and the white supremacist machinery that is operating here in Lafayette. Not only am I interested in removing the statue of Alfred Mouton, but I'm also interested in making sure that the mindset that produced the statue of Alfred Mouton also cease its cultural genocide and its white supremacist activity on the cultural proudness and cultural and economic exploitation of this community. Raging Cajun is not black people. Cajun and nigger meant the same thing historically. So therefore, when you talk about removing a statue, and then you got black people calling themselves Cajun, you got little black children don't want to be black and African anymore. They want to be Cajun or Creole. They think they're from Acadiana. They have no connection to Africa. That is white supremacy living. That is the live effects of white supremacy. So this statue here, I can stand in front of this white statue for the next 10 hours, and this statue will not impact my economic, political, or educational standing in this community. But the promotion of Cajun Acadiana with tax dollars is taxation without representation, misuse and abuse of public funds, and it's culture genocide. That is the tenets of white supremacy. So, do we want the statue removed of Alfred Mouton? Yes, we do. We want to remove the statue of Alfred Mouton, but we want to remove all the tenets of white supremacy. The Cajun Acadiana concept is a modern day nigger making process for black people all over again, where the city entities of this area are using public funds to commit culture genocide, culture terrorism, and promotes all the negative things that they talk about white supremacist foundation creates. This is what we have here in Lafayette.
Oh man, it was really powerful. I wish y'all could hear the comments that was made while he was speaking. It just brings chills to your body. It just leaves you. It just brings chills to your body. It just leaves you breathless. Sister Suzanne.
Well, you can't argue with the truth, okay? And Brother Takuna had a habit of always speaking the truth, whether you agree with him or not. He just spoke what was in his heart, and that was a powerful, thing right there. Yes. I like to think somewhere around there, I was in the crowd, but I surely didn't hear that, because I was somewhere else, but, Yeah, and then, that speech reminds me that there are so many speeches that we have of Takuna.
Yes.
So many, and it's a good thing that we have it. It's recorded. We have pictures, and, he will always be remembered by us and then by the people that don't know him. So they have a chance to get to know the brother by reading his book and other readings that he have, other writings that he have, and he wrote so much.
And also, a lot of his students, I mean, they took and they went to a championship. They won this championship.
Basketball, 1982.
Yeah.
1982.
In 1982.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean,
So-
yes.
Because he was so prophetic. I'm going to read, I'm doing stuff that I have the privilege to have some of his writings and
Okay.
stuff. So I want to read something he wrote as for the purpose of why he wrote the book, Black I Am, Cajun Creole I'm Not. First, he started, a long-standing popular lie does not get more truthful with time. It only seeks to impregnate time with baby lies for the purpose of creating offspring to support the buttress, the original mother lie. A lie has a traceable beginning and a predictable death. It is truth that lives eternal, whether we accept truth, reject truth, or deny truth in the fullness of time. Truth will always rise to serve a dead blow to falsehood. So he put hints with that spirit of truth as a guide. The contents of this book speaks candidly to the unnecessary, selfish, and reckless promotion of the concept Cajun Acadiana and its widespread impact on Black communities.
Yes.
So he has so much. He has so many quotes that he wrote. When we listen to Malcolm X quotes, Takuna is in that rank. He is unsung. Yes. He is unsung. So we will not allow his spirit of goodness to just dwindle down, because as we know, it's no one in this system that's going to attempt to do it. But I can assure you, we will, not because of the man, but because of the principle of this great man.
That's
that
right.
we will continue to carry his legacy.
That's right. And you know what, too, it's really hard. Men and women don't really have like some men and women can't really have like a good friendship, a relationship. But I see the friendship relationship where when you would call Brother Takuna, he's answering. When you would ask him something, when you would have a problem, he's like the guru. He would just tell you, look, you need to focus on this, and this does not make any sense to me. And he just would be frank with you. I mean, you didn't have to worry about, sometimes he may have made you cry because that's just how harsh he was. But he done it out of love. He done it out of respect. Yeah. I was in New Iberia. We were in New Iberia for Judge Laurie Landry when she was fighting against the 16 JDC and all this other kind of stuff. And we had like a courtroom full of people. And so I asked, and I wanted people from New Iberia, and they knew him. I said, Brother Takuna, I said, would you like to address the crowd? He told me no. That's your responsibilities. And so I'm like, I'm looking for my shot glass because I'm like saying, okay, I know I can't touch him. And I wanted him with his eloquent words and his forcefulness. He was a very handsome man. I just wanted him to just take over, and he said, no, that's your responsibilities.
He gave responsibility where responsibility was, so you couldn't put anything off on him. So he was in your neck of the woods.
He'd laugh at you afterwards.
Yes, indeed.
But he always came back and softened it up later and told you why.
Right.
Why he did it, but.
Right, and not only that, but we Archbishop John, they named the Harambe Center after Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz.
Yes.
Yeah.
That in itself is like a marker of history. This will always be. And Brother Takuna was the one that had named it.
He named it. He named Harambe.
Harambe.
And many don't know Harambe means peace.
Yeah.
That's who he was, a peaceful man.
Yes,
And,
indeed.
you know, so in the future, we're looking forward to having many things that will be taking place at the Harambe in honor of Takuna and, you know, other issues that we will have a place to meet.
Yeah. And we just have the picture.
Oh, we had, yeah.
We have the picture of Takuna
In
there.
the center.
We hadn't, you know, put in the sign yet,
Yes.
but the picture is
It
there.
looks
So
really
now,
nice.
when you go to the center, you know, you'll see that as soon as you walk in, there's a beautiful picture
Okay.
of him.
Yes.
You know, so it's to remind people that, you know, you're in the Takuna Malana El Shabazz building.
Yes,
You
yes,
know.
yes, yes, yes. He just had a way with everything. You know, he just was so respectful. You know, a sister. I think one time him and I was getting ready to do a show at AOC, and I came out the car. The wind was so strong. It messed up my entire hair, and I'm like saying, this stuff is payard. And when Brother Takuna walked in and sit down, he said, "Oh, your crown is beautiful." And I plumb forgot that it was going all over the place because he gave you a compliment from one of the most respectable conscious person in this world.
Yeah.
We are sorry we
Yeah.
can't take any phone calls or anything like that. We have a few texts. We're sorry we can't take any phone calls, but we're gonna be able to take some next time we do the segment. Sister Janice.
Well, how much time we have?
Oh, we have a good time.
We have a lot.
Oh, we're having a good time. Okay. Well, I just want to share. I have a copy of his first article of The Rising Sea. Wow, this was published in 1988.
Wait, turn it and then let us see. The first
Copy
article.
of the first article.
Keep it hold, then I'm going to go switch it.
Oh, the first article. 1988.
And I mean, I have, and in my possession, all copies of the many papers that he did and the powerful articles that he
Yes.
covered in the paper. I mean, when I look at some of the articles, they were so powerful, but they still hold true today.
Yes, and that was
so that's
what
30-something years ago.
35 years 35 years ago.
So the issues he tackled then are still the same issues that we need to continue to address.
And you know what? I'm looking at it, and the first thing I noticed, it's by Takuna Dixon.
Yeah, he was Takuna Dixon at that
Takuna
time.
Dixon
yes.
at that time, and then later became Takuna
Takuna
Malana
Malana.
El Shabazz. You know, so
Yes,
it's amazing.
yes, yeah, and they are a big family. How many in the family?
Oh God.
There's 7, 6 girls, 1 boy.
Right, he's the only
Yeah, he was the
boy.
only boy.
That's my kinfolk.
He was the only boy.
All
yeah.
the Dixon.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Oh. And
And then he really went through a stage where his family needed to accept him as Takuna Malana El Shabazz. You
right,
know.
right.
So even until the end, you know, that was still, I guess, a bit
no,
of a...
let me correct that, because as his family and as everybody else, no one knew who he was, because he was so far ahead of time from where everybody was. So it's not that his family didn't accept that they loved their brother as a brother and he had
Yeah.
a loving family. But when you come into something and you're standing alone, the attacks are going to come at
Yeah.
you. But when you are called to walk the walk that God says you're going to walk, you have to walk it alone. And he did that.
Yeah.
So,
And as a matter of fact, the first Ujamaa
was,
Yes.
festival at the Martin Luther King Center
yeah.
was when I somewhat got hit on the head by Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz, Harold Muhammad, May he rest in peace also. And they were just so dynamic. I mean, you work in this entire auditorium with over 350 something people. It was the best event that I had ever attended. I go up to Minister Harold Muhammad. They both had said, look at the audience. The majority of the people in the audience are women. Nothing but women. Where are the men? And he mentioned, some of the men are incarcerated. You know, some of the men haven't found themselves yet. But you need to reach out to like some of our men and women that are incarcerated and everything. So I'm waiting in the line because it was myself, Sister Jamila, Sister Ma'at. I'm waiting in the line to go and get Minister Harold Muhammad signature. So I say, well, then I don't have anybody incarcerated, but who can I get in touch with to like either send a card to? He said, Allah gonna provide the way. So okay, I leave. Then I had to go back in line again because I said, well, you didn't give me Allah's address. Oh. He said, Allah is God. I said, oh, him. I didn't know. But it's like hitting you on the head. Wake up, wake up. Yes, indeed.
Sister, I see you have a book by Frederick Douglass. You were going to speak on that?
Well, no, I wanted to say something about the Emancipation Proclamation, something like that. We just got through from celebrating Juneteenth, but it was something else that was in the book what he was talking about. You know, the Emancipation Proclamation did not include us, and that's one thing that Frederick Douglass wanted people to understand. They had talked bad about Frederick Douglass too, you know, but he wrote a speech. And I was looking for the speech that he had wrote, you know, and it was dealing with freedom. But I can't find it right about now. I don't know if you had it, but next time when we do it again, I'll definitely have the speech.
Was that the speech of the 4th of July?
Yeah.
I have
it. Oh, you have it?
I do.
Oh, well,
as a matter of fact, I sent a text to many leaders of the community.
You did?
Because it was the 4th of July, and that just came in my spirit. I had got a hold of the speech of Frederick Douglass, so
okay.
You want me to read it?
Yes, go ahead, please.
This is Frederick. Would you like to read it?
No, you go ahead.
This is Frederick Douglass' speech of 1852. What to the slave is the 4th of July? What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty and unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him more bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of the United States at this very hour. Go where you may, search where you will, roam through all the monarchies and the despotisms of the old world. Travel through South America, search out every abuse, and when you have found the last, lay your facts by the side of everyday practices of this nation, and you will say with me that for revolting barbarity and shameless hypocrisy, America reigns without a rival. And then I also added, in closing, I'll share a prophetic quote by Takuna Melania El-Shabazz. A long-standing popular lie does not get more truthful with time. It only seeks to impregnate time with baby lies for the purpose of creating offsprings to support or buttress the original mother lie. A lie has a traceable beginning and a predictable death. It is truth that lives eternal, whether we accept truth, reject truth, or deny truth in the fullness of time. Truth will always rise to serve a dead blow to falsehood. So that was for the 4th of July, and I sent it to many leaders. I haven't heard from anyone, but I don't expect to because it's truth.
Yes. And
So when I titled it to them, I put, as we embark upon this festive holiday, the 4th of July, or some would say the 4th of July,
yeah,
as a valued member of our communities, many of whom might have had the privilege to serve, are seeking the opportunity to serve the people of the communities. Let us be mindful that there are many past, present, and future grassroots issues that still requires continued confrontation if we are to truly move on the path that God wants his people to go. So that's what I said for the 4th of July. So my position is, hey, I will stand on truth, whether it's the 4th of July, the Juneteenth. If we can't stand from a principled position on the truth of what these holidays are and not be bombarded with the way certain people want us to perceive it or to bring it to forth, that's what's hindering us today, the lies. So how will we move on, or how will your leadership move people forward if you can't address issues from a grassroots principle position? You know, and that's where we need to go.
yes, and one of the main things too that we also need to remember that the churches, our churches was the cornerstone of what was going on in your community. I mean, this is where a lot of the civil rights organization started, was in the churches, and people met in the churches. I'm going to say right here, there's on, I know of Imani Temple. Imani Temple, you know, we incorporate so many different things that's going on in the community. And even back then when the great Dr. Martin Luther King was alive, you had a lot of these preachers who was not even with him. You had a lot of them that, you know, oh, that nigga is crazy, or whatever it is that they call. And this is our stronghold that we have lost. Our cornerstone is the churches, and you got to have some form of consciousness, some form of community love within for your people, so that we can excel to the next level.
Wow. Now look how things are flowing, sister. You talk about Dr. King. Read this. You know, like we talk about King and we have celebrations, but Brother Takuna always spoke about, if you talk about King from 1965 to 68, when King even came into knowing that the dream he saw his people was a nightmare. So look what I have.
Right. Yes, indeed. I'm definitely going to need to get a copy of that. This is Shattered Dreams.
Yes.
1965 to 68. In 63, Washington, D.C., I tried to talk to the nation about a dream that I had had. And I must confess that not long after talking about that dream, I started seeing it turn into a nightmare. Just a few weeks after I had talked about it, I heard about it, but I had never really read it. It was when 4 beautiful Negro girls were murdered in a church in Birmingham, Alabama. I watched that dream turn into a nightmare as I moved through the ghettos of the nation and saw black brothers and sisters perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity, and saw the nation doing nothing to grapple with the Negro's problem of poverty. I saw that dream turn into a nightmare as I watched my black brothers and sisters in the midst of anger and understandable outrage, in the midst of their hurt, in the midst turn to misguided robots or trying to solve their problem. This is history in another history in its making, and this is where we have our Dr. King's, Brother Malcolm, Brother Takuna, Malana El Shabazz. They all in that same category. And you remember how we would see those pictures and they would have like Dr. Martin Luther King, Kennedy,
Robert Kennedy.
yeah, him, Robert Kennedy, and everything. We need to have our picture with Malcolm, Dr. King, Brother Takuna, Brother Farrakhan. I mean, we need to have them with that picture in bold, and where we could let you know, hey, we're not stepping back anymore.
Yeah. How you say one of his famous quotes? It's time to rise up, black man, woman, and child, and reclaim your original greatness.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
But, you know, so much of that, you think of, you know, where are the leaders now? And I don't know, I'm just thinking that maybe with the assassination of King and, you know, all the other people that died, you know, a lot of the leaders just took a back seat. They calmed what they had to say, and no one is speaking out, you know, and maybe they're afraid of death, you know, because King wasn't afraid to die.
Yes.
He spoke what he had to speak, and people listened, and he died for that. And then a lot of people, you know, right now, they want to follow in his footsteps, but they're not following all the way in the footsteps.
That's right.
They're not following all the way in the footsteps, because if you are, you know, we'd have a lot more people to say, hey, this is the leader of the black race,
Yes.
you know, and where is that now?
Where is
You know, and Janice and I talk often about the leaders in our community, and, you know, she's like, well, I'm going to send this to the leaders. Well, which leaders?
That's what
Are
I'm
they
saying.
leaders? You know, are they just claiming to be leaders, you know, in name only?
Well, if I send anything to someone that I may call a leader, I'm not blinded that even being a leader also can mean led. So I know who's bringing poison to my community, but I send it to the one that comes in the forefront proclaiming to be leaders so they know it. And if it's any issues that I have or concerns and I send it to them, all I can do is tell you and hold you accountable for what you're not doing. I don't have to come at the forefront at you.
And then they see that, you know, without responding, you know, that's the answer right there.
So there we know they're not
Then
leaders.
you know.
So this,
Oh, yeah.
like we're talking about leaders, so that's funny to me. This is one of Brother Takuna's. He was very comical as well. So this was a comic that he did, I think, in the first copy of the Rising Sea.
Okay, 35 years ago.
35 years ago. So it's called Mr. and Miss Loose Lip Talk Again. So I find it fitting if you want to do it, Sister Khadijah.
Oh, yes, I would love
because
to.
it's a election year. So this is what he wrote in 1988.
In 1988, 35 years ago.
You could start first and I'll
Yes.
come.
Yes. Well, Mama Loose Lips, it's that time of the year again.
What time of the year is that, Papa Loose Lips?
You know, Mama Loose Lips, that's the time when strange people come by and smile at us like we've been friends for years.
Huh?
Oh, you mean it is time to vote again, Papa Loose Lips?
Yeah, that's what I mean, Mama Loose Lips.
Who are we going to vote for in the upcoming election, Papa Loose Lips?
I don't know, Mama Loose Lips. It's hard to say. There's so much politicking going on these days.
Yeah, Papa Loose Lips. I know just what you mean, but there is just so much coffee and donuts a person can eat and drink. I sure hope we decide soon.
Yeah, you're right, Mama Loose Lips. But don't forget the red beans and rice, the beer too. Those politrickers might get friendly when they need a vote.
Ain't that the truth?
That was one, then they have another one.
Yes.
Mama Loose Lips. Guess what's coming up this month? Super Tuesday.
Don't tell me we're having another Mardi Gras celebration.
No, Mama Loose Lips. That's when those politrickers we've been seeing so much find out if they win.
Well, Papa Loose Lips, if you ask me, that's just like a Mardi Gras parade.
Now, what is that supposed to mean, Mama Loose Lips?
They're always throwing those good things at you, but they're mighty hard to catch. Yep, that's polar tricking for you.
Don't forget to exercise your right to vote.
That's
cute.
He was so good.
Yeah, it was very comical,
Yes, indeed.
silly, fun.
And what we're going to do, we're going to be bringing different segments to the community. If you have any questions or comment, you could get in touch with all of us here. If you wanted to say something about the show, you could reach me at 337. Nope, I can't give out my personal number. You can reach me
Sure.
at 98.
88.3.
983-6080. All right. And in closing, we have 4 minutes left? 5 minutes left? 4 minutes left? And closing, we have 4 minutes left. You
Well,
can start off, Jamie.
I would like to close with something Brother Takuna would always say. He would always start off when he's saying something. You know, brothers and sisters, each time I speak publicly, some say that I'm a little touch in the head. Some say that I am bold. Some say that I might be intelligent if I wasn't crazy, but none has called me a liar. He knew that his words and the manner in which he delivered the words sometimes were harsh, but no matter how he said it, if he spoke the truth, it would still be offended by others, because the truth challenged our value system that the white man gives us. He loved us, but he was not in the nigger-making business, and he was not in the Negro enhancement business, and he did not permit his fear of hearing the truth make him a conspirator and pimp for the white man, spreading lies among you, my black family, who he loved so much. And he'd rather stand as a truth teller only once than to be a popular liar in your face every day. That's it.
That is power. Sister Suzanne?
Well, I'd just like to say that if you want more information, read the book and
You want to purchase the book?
yeah, purchase the book.
Still on there.
It's still on Amazon.com. So
And I
folks
have
can-
copies as well. I have
Right.
copies.
And we know it's been a powerful show. You had it coming from, not only are we intellectual women and students of Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz, but we are community leaders. We love our community, and we will do the best that we can to keep on with Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz's legacy, no matter what. This is us. We walking tall in the spirit of our great and Malana, Brother Takuna Malana El Shabazz.
Like I say, we covered and protected.